Hello YouTube, welcome to the channel of Vortigon Gaming. This video is a little different from my normal videos. We are actually going to be running a mythic dungeon, what's this called again? Hold on. Brackenhide Hollow, there we go. Just realized that the name of the dungeon is over there on the right of the screen. Anyway, this dungeon is going to be featured in Season 2 of, Mythic Plus content for the Dragonflight expansion. And as of recording this, that patch 10.1 is about a little bit over 3 weeks away. So I figured, we take a run through this dungeon, kind of see what it's about before Season 2 hits. Excuse me. And also give some of my thoughts about how this dungeon might play out in the coming season. As always, if you are into this kind of content or any kind of content that I post on the channel, feel free to like the video and subscribe to the channel. And I guess we'll just get right into it. So the first part of the dungeon seems like it's a pretty open field with a lot of trash packs here. I have run this dungeon a few times before, I think like a month or two back. And the tanks in some of those runs already kind of had an idea of what routes and what skips are available to us in this first part of the dungeon. So I feel like when we do run this dungeon in Season 2, there are going to be quite a few strategies for this first part of the dungeon that revolve around kind of, optimizing what percentage of trash mobs we kill in this part of the dungeon. You may have noticed that we have a objective here. We have an objective of freeing some Tuskar in these cages, right? And we're going to need to free 5 of them before we can activate the first boss, it looks like. So the routes, I feel like I foresee the routes for this part of the dungeon being around kind of optimizing the amount of trash that we pull while freeing these Tuskar in the cages, right? Other than that, I have heard, I have seen some things on, let's say, like the WoW forums, but also in some of the, YouTube videos that talk about Mythic Plus content. And they are foreseeing this dungeon to be a pretty difficult one. This might turn into the Season 2's version of Ruby Life Pools, where, the devs have to rebalance everything, like, every week. So that they can make the dungeon kind of, not feel as horrible to play. I know there were some issues with like some of the balancing on the trash mobs and the boss fights in Ruby Life Pools this season. But overall, I don't know if it's going to be as bad as Ruby Life Pools. Certainly the last boss of this dungeon I feel like is going to be a bit of a difficult one for at least my spec, since every time I've played this dungeon, the last boss I've had to move around a lot to avoid mechanics. And my spec doesn't really do too well when it comes to, having to move. Since the way you play Arcane Mage is you kind of want to be standing still for as long as possible, since most of your damage spells as an Arcane Mage kind of require you to stand still to cast them. I mean, there are some options, there's some talents you could spec into to make it easier for you to move while casting. For example, I'm using a talent that allows me to move while casting arcane missiles whenever these clear casting procs show up.
Keep the balance preserved.
But other than that, the general idea with Arcane Mage is you do want to stand still while casting your ability so you can actually do the damage that you need to do. Anyway, one thing that running kind of mythic zeros, as I like to call them, is useful for is, just chilling. Obviously, it's like a very easy run. We're actually using Season 1's balancing right now, since we are still technically in Season 1. And, well, I'm way overgeared for this, so I don't need to worry about, doing enough DPS or whatnot. So that means I can kind of relax and also see what kind of abilities that the trash mobs and the bosses have, and then I could take some time, just figure some things out, think about which abilities of these trash mobs can I interrupt, how many of them can be disoriented by something like, you know, Dragon's Breath? Do they cast anything that can be spell stolen? Right, because I do have this ability called Spell Steal right here that can steal a beneficial magic effect. Do they cast any curses that can be removed? Okay, so they want a hero at this point. I guess I'll go ahead and hero as well. I think this should be fine. You know what? I'll hold off on doing a burn phase right here, because I don't think I have actually seen all of the mechanics that this boss has done, since I kind of burned through them too quickly. If I you know, if I use my actual rotation. Right, so we're just gonna, I think we're gonna hold off on using rotations for this run, so that way I can actually see what kind of you know, mechanics that I'm going to be dealing with for the boss fight. Anyway, that's the first boss down, so let's go ahead and give ourselves a slash cheer. Move on to the next part of the dungeon. I think this part of the dungeon is going to be a little bit more straightforward. There is a fork in the road up ahead, where I think we have a bit of a choosing on whether or not we go to the second or third boss first, like boss number 2, which is Treemouth on the right hand side right here, or boss number 3, which is Gutshot. I believe Gutshot is the I think it's a bear or a wolf. I mean, it makes sense that the Treemouth is the giant tree that spits poison, right? Or else why would they call it Treemouth, right? Anyway, let's see. Okay, so it seems like either the Rainbow Stalker was too far, or sorry, the Rotbow Stalker was too far away from that Dragon's Breath, or he can't actually be disoriented like that. Let me see if Blast Wave works on him. Okay, so it looks like he's just immune to certain crowd control abilities. Alright. So that is one thing to watch out for. Let's see, how about this Bone Bolt Holter? I don't think I'm going to have Dragon's Breath up in time to test that. I can interrupt the Screech, it looks like. Okay. Alright. Oh, no, okay, so we're in combat. That's why I can't... Oh, alright. So it looks like coming in here too early will lock some of the players out. So that is something to keep in mind, it looks like, when running this dungeon during Season 2. Okay. Alright, so the gate is open again. I'm not sure how that happened. That will be something I guess I will look into after running this dungeon, and also, you know, when running this dungeon for Season 2. Alright, this is the fork in the road that I was talking about earlier. Looks like we can go to the left, although I don't think... Yeah, I think we're just going to pull this patrol here anyway. Alright. See if we can use... Okay, so the Bracken War Scourge is immune to this disorient, it looks like. We'll go ahead and take care of this Gut Stabber here. Do want to dodge the swirly. That looks like a trap. Okay. Okay. Alright, so the bear is... Well, the bear can be knocked back by this blast wave, it looks like. And it looks like we are going to Gutshot first. So it looks like a lot of these packs that we're dealing with right now are coming in, you know, these trash mobs are coming in packs of like 4 or 5. So it looks like this will be... It looks like we kind of got a string of, you know, packs throughout at least this part where you know, I do want to be using my rotation. I don't think my rotation is going to change that much for Season 2. Right, so the main idea with my rotation as an Arcane Mage is that you have two phases. You have the burn phase and you have the conserve phase. The burn phase is basically put Radiant Spark on a target, cast 4 spells on that target, barrage in, and as the barrage is traveling, you apply Touch of the Magi. And the idea is that Radiant Spark and Touch of the Magi will both give you burn windows where you try to do as much damage with your spells as possible. And then, oh, it's not a bear, it's a two-legged hyena or something. Anyway, after the burn phase, you go into what's called the conserve phase. And the conserve phase is basically just use your abilities in such a way that you have enough mana for the next burn phase. So it looks like I can interrupt Master's Call there. Anyway, what I was saying with the trash packs leading up to this boss is that a lot of them, it seems to be back-to-back, you know, packs of, like, let's say, like 4 or 5, whatchamacallit, 4 or 5 ads in the pack, so it'd be a good time to kind of chain burn phases together between each pack. Anyway, that's boss number 2 down. We'll go ahead and give a slash cheer. Move on to the third boss of the dungeon. And so it looks like your success as an Arcane Mage in this dungeon, well, it's kind of the same with every dungeon, is how well you can kind of time your burn phases to match with how your tank's pulling. Rhythm is a pretty important thing when it comes to kind of the Arcane Mage rotation. Same with also like counting the 4, and also knowing when to position, and also you know, timing your burn windows to match up with the kind of downtime during the boss fight. There will be certain parts of the boss fight or the trash pulls where you don't necessarily have to react to mechanics, and so that gives you a little window of time to actually perform your burn phase properly. Right? So that pull didn't seem too bad. Okay, I don't think there was anything, you know, that's going to be too difficult to deal with when we eventually have to do this for, you know, actual Mythic Plus runs, right? But that could be an issue. I'm not sure what disoriented me. Looks like I can kind of CC. I can disorient a lot of the people in that pool, except for the Stink Breath. It looks like Stink Breath will be maybe my focus target for when I'm actually using my rotations and stuff like that. I might want to focus most of my damage on this guy, and then rely on cleave damage for the others, right? Alright, so we are at the third boss. It did not take too much time to get from, you know, the tooth boss to the third boss, right? So maybe there will be an issue of, you know, which boss should we use hero on? Should we even use hero on the boss, or should we use it on some of the trash mobs? I'm thinking that people are most likely going to use, you know, hero on one of these bosses up here. Alright. I do want to blink out of that. I think that's going to... okay, dodge that. Alright, so this boss seems to just do... oh, never mind. I see that it has an energy meter. So it looks like at a certain amount of energy it's going to do some special mechanic that we have to deal with. Of course, there are all these ads to kill. Anyway, that's the third boss down. Let's go ahead and give ourselves a slash cheer and move on to the last part of the dungeon.
Come to me, clever meat. I'll wither your strength myself.
All right. I think there might be a couple of ads here that put like some poison. I think they put some like poison dispel on one of the members of your party. And if you accidentally run into people, you will actually spread the disease, so you don't want to be doing that. I think it might be this. No, it's... I don't think it's Decay Surge. I actually forgot what it's called. that is something to kind of do research on.
I need to target something first.
I think if you have, I think it's called Mythic Dungeon Tools. I forgot the add-on, or the name of the add-on. But I'm pretty sure there's an add-on where you can like plan routes, you know, on the Mythic Plus dungeons that you are running for that season. It also gives you information about the types of spells and abilities that these trash mobs and the, you know, the bosses cast. But also, that kind of information can also be found on Wowhead. And so, what I like to do sometimes, before running my Mythic Plus dungeons for the week is, you know, I look at what dungeons are giving me the most trouble, what dungeons I'm planning on improving on for that particular week, or planning on, you know, raising my IO score for. And then trying to pick out some of the problem parts in that dungeon and see if there are any tactics or strategies I can use for certain pulls and certain trash mobs that can maybe help out. And you don't necessarily have to know, you know, every ability in the dungeon within like the first week. Okay, so I think, yeah, I think it's called Withering Contagion. That makes sense because, you know, contagious things spread, and if you get near someone, like for example, if I go into it, okay, I guess there's a timer on how it can spread. But if someone's in that circle, when the timer goes off, it will spread to whoever else is in that circle, right? Anyway, as I was saying, you don't need to necessarily know all of the, you know, abilities for every trash mob by week 1. Ideally, you should focus first on the mechanics for the boss fight, since those are the most important. You're going to be seeing those the most often. You're going to be seeing those the most regularly, I should say. Usually on lower level dungeons, you will kill the ads too quickly to see most of the important mechanics, but on the bosses, you'll start seeing the mechanics of those first, the most regularly, right? So what I do is I start focusing on the mechanics for the boss fight, and then later as I push higher keys, I start picking out, you know, important mechanics that the trash mobs do, and asking myself, you know, what can I do to deal with those mechanics. Anyway, it looks like we are going into the last boss fight. The tank wanted us to stand up here. It looks like we are avoiding this green circle down here, which actually silences you if you're standing in it. And it looks like this is going to be pretty much all the mechanics for this boss fight. I think we are still killing it too quickly to actually see most of the mechanics. But you know what? I think I'll worry more about that once we actually get into Season 2 and, you know, the dungeon is actually scaled properly for my item level. Anyway, that is the last boss of this dungeon. Let's go ahead and give a slash cheer for beating it. Thank everyone for a clean run. And we are an Arcane Mage, so the common courtesy is to give everyone a portal back to the main hub of the expansion. And that's going to about do it here for this video. So I hope you all enjoyed watching. If you liked the video, feel free to like the video and subscribe to the channel. If you want to see me run any dungeons during the last few weeks of Dragonflight Mythic Plus Season 1, let me know in a comment down below which dungeons you'd like to see me run. Hopefully I get around to posting a VOD of that. Anyway, that's going to about do it for me here. I hope you all had fun watching, and I will see you all later.